Welcome back into the shop, everybody. We are on part 2 of this table build. In the first part, we did the mortise and tenon joinery and assembled the base. Now we're going to be moving into the drawer, which is actually a really unique, cool part of this build. I'm excited to show you guys that. I had a few comments in the previous video about the non-voiceover videos. Those are available. The link is in the description for both part 1 and for this part. So if that is what you prefer, head down there and go to that video. Now let's jump in and get started on this drawer. So I've pre-glued up the top. You didn't see that, but I'm starting to work here on a hanging drawer that hangs off the bottom of the top. So I'm going to use a sliding dovetail. So I've got to take the waste out. I'm using a 3/8 upcut spiral bit. I'll just run a dado to remove most of the waste. And then I'm going to come back with my dovetail bit. I'll cut each side. So I'll cut one side. You can see I'm cutting that angle on the left side, and then I'll come back and cut the other side. And then for the, I'm going to call these the drawer runners. They're going to slide into that dovetail. I just use my router table and just dial in the fit, basically. I'm going to cut each side and then move my fence and just kind of go back and forth until I have the fit exactly how I want it. These need to fit snugly, but obviously you don't want to have to beat them into the sliding dovetail. The reason I'm using these is because you've got a tabletop, you've got across two different grain directions connecting here. So that tabletop's going to move with the seasons. You know, you could get 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of movement. I need it to be able to, I need these runners to be solid and in place, but also not permanently glued, because then that tabletop can't move. So sliding dovetails are great at this. They will hold the runners securely in place, but they allow that tabletop to move because you don't glue them. You just glue them in one spot. So here I'm putting a dado on the inside of my runners. I'm going to attach a piece into that dado, which my drawer will hang on. This will make sense here soon. So like I said, I'm just going to glue maybe 1 inches at the end here and slide it in. That way it's locked in place. It won't move or slide around. The glue kind of grabs it, but the tabletop can still move. So now I'm going to put my little runners in my dados, and then I'll put the exact same dado on my drawer, and it'll slide on those runners. And finally, I'm going to patch the dovetails on the edge of the table. I had an extra piece that I made, so I just cut off the dovetail and slid it in. And I'll cut that flush and sand it all down. So now I need to make my drawer. I start by sizing the back of the drawer. This is a real interesting drawer. I kind of got a little bit creative with it. So the back will connect to the sides using hand-cut dovetails, which we're going to cut right now. And then the front will actually connect using sliding dovetails. So it took the proper steps to build this correctly, and it starts with cutting these dovetails. So I lay out my pins first, not my pins, sorry, those are tails. I lay out my tails first. I will cut those and then transfer that over to my sideboard and cut my pins. You can take the waste out in the middle here with chisels like I'm doing, or a coping saw. A coping saw is actually way faster, but I have still yet to buy new blades for my coping saw. The last couple dovetail drawers I made, I just chiseled it out because I don't have blades on the coping saw. It's one of those things I just keep forgetting about. See, that waste just pops right out, and then I'll clean up that inside there and make it nice and straight. Now this is a transfer I'm doing. I use a razor knife and I just transfer it over with blue tape on the other side. That way I can just peel that tape off and have a real crisp line where I need to cut. This is a technique I've been using now on the last 5 or 6 drawers I've done, and I've grown to really like it. It works well. It's a real easy way to transfer tails to pins. So I cut all my pins out. Basically, always the most important thing here is to make sure you cut on the waist side. And when you use the tape, it would be really hard because you'd have to cut tape to do it wrong. So we're going to go through the same process we went with on the tails. It's just more material. There is a slight error that I noticed. This is a great thing about getting to film my work. I really shouldn't have the workpiece hanging off the bench like this. It needs to be supported. The bench top needs to be under where I'm hammering. And I did split one of these a little bit, and that's the reason why. And like I said, it's great to see my work because I can catch things like this. I don't know why I'm hanging it off the edge of the bench. I don't think I normally do that. Maybe I was having a hard time making the hold fast fit. But that's a lesson to myself and a lesson to you guys. When you are chopping real hard down on these, you need the support of your workbench. You need the workpiece on the workbench. So one thing you got to remember too here is I'm working from both sides. I'm not only going from one side. I'll do halfway down on one side, flip it, and do the other side. I could tell here that I hadn't hammered too hard, so I needed to flip it over and work from the other side to break this out. You see that pops out pretty easily. So I'll go ahead and you can see I've run the groove for the drawer bottom. I did that on my table saw. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this up without the front ready. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I have to run that dado on the side of the drawer and my drawer front hangs over the side. So I wouldn't be able to run that dado with the drawer front attached. So I'm going to glue up the back, and then I'm going to put this false drawer front. I'm just going to super glue it on. And this just keeps the drawer all squared up and true while I'm cutting the joinery on it. I already cut my sliding dovetails. You can see those. I did it on the router table. So I'll hand plane the dovetails flush, clean up the sides, check my fit, make sure that it's going to fit okay and slide well, and then I'm going to run my dado. And I actually felt that maybe my fit was a little loose. I was actually a little worried about it, but it ended up working out okay. So when I cut the dados in the runners earlier in the video, I kept that dado stack together. I didn't take it apart, and I set it aside because I knew when I came back to do this, I wanted the exact same size dado. So how I had to do is pick up that dado stack and put it on the table saw and make the cut. I can use, here I'm using a low angle jack plane to kind of dial in the fit. It's really easy just to take material off those runners, just slide the plane along the tabletop and work it down until you get the fit that you need. I always aim to be a little tight because I know as I sand it and then put wax on it, it's going to ride a lot better. I would rather be a little too tight of a fit and then adjust it at the very end of the build than be too loose now, and then after I've sanded and done everything and put it all together, it's just wobbling around. There's nothing you can do at that point. So as you can tell, I mean, you got to be happy with that. This is always a great part of the build when something like this fits together. I mean, in my mind, this was all a concept. And it feels really good when it actually works out and it's done. So I've got to cut the sliding dovetail in the drawer front. I picked a really cool piece of figured white oak. Has a little curl in it for that drawer front. And just like we did the sliding dovetails on the tabletop, I pre-cut that dado just to take some of the waste out, and then this is being done just in one pass, and I'm having to really bear down and hold on to that workpiece because this bit is an old bit, and I really should have gotten a new fresh sharp router bit for this because it was fighting to get through that oak. Okay, so this is the tricky part. I've got my drawer bottom. You can see how pretty that drawer bottom is, book matched quarter sawn white oak. Since we're sliding on the front, you can't just, you have to drop the drawer bottom all the way in. So as you can tell, it's going all the way down, so I can slide that front on, and then I'll have about an eighth that I can pick back up and slide into the drawer front, and then we'll pin nail it in place. So you're going to see all that right here. Hopefully it makes sense. So now I want to flip it over, put the front down, and move that drawer bottom down just a little bit just to catch inside that drawer front. There's a slight reveal, same thing on the other side, and then I'll grab my little pin nailer and pop a few pins just to keep that drawer bottom from moving. I don't think you could move it so far that you would see a gap there, but I want to pin nail it just to play it safe. So that's it. Fits really nice. You'll notice there's a groove cut there in the center of the drawer on the tabletop. We're going to address that right now. That is going to be the stop that keeps the drawer from pulling all the way out. So I'm making a little piece that'll ride in there. I'm just countersinking a very small hole for a little brass screw, and then we'll screw that onto the back of the drawer. There it is, you can see it in there. It's sticking up about 1/4 of an inch proud, and it's riding in that channel. Right there you can see. You can't see the actual piece riding, but it's riding in that channel. So if you want to remove the drawer, you'd have to go in there with a screwdriver and take that brass screw out. Final step is always put the brand on and put the date and town. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that build. It was a lot of fun, very challenging. It's a similar design to a table I have on my website that I sell called the Watford table. It's just a trestle table, but basically I shrunk it down for this desk and added the drawer on the bottom. So that's a really good learning, a really unique drawer, I guess, for a table where it just suspends off the bottom of the tabletop. So if you ever have a design where you don't have an apron or structure under your tabletop, that's a great way to build a drawer to add if you need a drawer on the table. I want to say thanks to everyone who's ordered plans. There's a bunch of you looking to build this table. So if anyone's interested, head over to the website, get yourself plans. A lot of great comments on plans you guys want to see, and I'll try to make that happen. Also, it is, what is it, it's Cyber Monday? I don't know. I lose track of all this stuff, but my merch t-shirts are on sale over at Bunker till the end of the day. So you have a little bit of time left to go get some merchandise if you're interested in helping support the channel. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I have some exciting content coming your way, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.